Welcome, everyone. This is IMG Research Academy. IMG Research Academy is a research institute that is registered in Florida. We're online for the now. We're trying to have a physical presence. Our mission is very simple: demystify clinical research. We come together as a group, discuss topics, discuss ideas that will affect or effect that we have affect or have effect on the society, especially in health, and then see how we can look at those things, solve it in a very simple term, and publish it. So far, we've done a lot of publication as a group. Not only that, we also have missions to support ourselves to see how we can grow academically, and also how we can grow in our different spheres. Many of us are physicians, mostly foreign trained physicians, in different parts of the world: Africa, Canada, US. Every 2 weeks, we meet on Zoom to talk about one research topic or another, and then understand one thing or another: p-value, objective, how to design research, complex analysis here and there. Today, we're going to be talking about very simple thing: how to even write the first statement in your research paper. What is the first thing? We're not going to assume knowledge. We have someone that is with us. He's a PGY2 resident, family medicine resident, formerly trained family physician in Nigeria. Came here a couple of years back to start again the medical journey, and successfully he got into Hamilton Medical Center. Very illustrious son of this group, and he'll be steering the talk, and everybody will chime in from our different experiences. I'll just lay back and enjoy the conversation. Before then, we usually have one motivational talk that will tell us that, hey, in life, there's more to achieve. I have this video of this outstanding Nigerian that I want to play. And then after that, Dr. Henry will pick up the pace and go from there. It's just a motivational video, less than 5, 6, 7 minutes. Let's just listen to it as it plays.
Heard this thus far. So we're going to turn now to the presentation of our Freeing Voices, Changing Lives Award. The American Institute of Stuttering presents this award to individuals who have excelled in their chosen careers without allowing their stuttering to hold them back. And tonight we are so privileged to honor a man who has not only excelled in his career, but has dedicated his life to elevating and delivering first-rate healthcare, particularly for the most vulnerable people in our community. Though born and raised in Nigeria, Dr. Philip Azuwa has worked and lived in New York through most of his career and devoted his attention to medical issues unique to our city. He has been a pediatrician in the South Bronx, a dedicated researcher focusing on solving children's issues, a professor and university chairman of pediatrics at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and the physician-in-chief of Children's Hospital at Montefiore. Today, Dr. Azuwa helms one of the most important medical centers in the country. And as CEO and the president of Montefiore Einstein, he oversees Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Montefiore's 13 hospitals, 300 ambulatory sites, and 7.5 million patient encounters per year. His leadership style, wearing all of his many hats, is gracious and thoughtful and above all inspirational. Dr. Azuwa is not only a brilliant physician, academic, researcher, professor, and leader, but a fun fact, he's also an Emmy Award winner. It's true. For his work on television on behalf of Montefiore. That's not the greatest achievement, I'm just saying it's a great fun fact, you know. Okay, please welcome our 2023 Freeing Voices, Changing Lives Award recipient, Dr. Philip Azuwa.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Emily. Thanks to everyone involved with AIS, my wonderful friends, the Managerian family. Thank you for being here. My family, my wife, Dr. Tess Oswa, Phoebe Piers, our children, thank you all for being here. The year was 1989. You arrive as a young immigrant doctor who started fairly obviously as a child, and you arrive in New York to train at this big institution, this hospital. And in your first month, you encounter two people: a supervising male doctor who went out of his way to draw unflattering attention to any word upon which you stuttered. It was a sort of a sport for him. And you also encounter a female supervising doctor who, who barely spoke to you all month long, and at the end of the month, writes your evaluation and says you were unqualified, unintelligent, unworthy to be in that institution. And you're sure that it's a mistake because, among other things, you always wore a shirt and a tie and trousers and polished shoes and a starched white coat. And she had rated you on every attribute. On a scale of 0 to 10, she rated you a 0, including on appearance. And so you're thinking, well, my intellect may not be up to par, but I looked sharp, I thought. And so, you go to see her, expecting that when you walked in, she would say, oops, this was an error. And she said, no, it's you. And you said, well, could you please tell me what I could do to get better? In particular, what could I do to appear better? And she says, I don't know. The other reason that you thought it was a mistake is because many people, although your name is Philip, many people called you Peter. Because there was only one other trainee in the place who shared your heritage. And his name was Peter. So people called, and although you didn't think you looked anything alike, they called you Peter. So your goal that first year was to simply be called by your name, was to perform with enough excellence and distinction that they would call you by your name. You think about Elizabeth Barrett Browning, 1845, who wrote, "Yes, call me by my pet name. Let me hear the name I used to run at when a child from innocent play and leave the cowslip's pile to glance up in some face that proved me dear with the look of its eyes. I miss the clear fond voices which being drawn and reconciled to the music of heavens undefiled call me no longer. You're 6,000 miles from home and you miss the voices that called you by your own name." 13 years later, you enter the elevator in the hospital going up to the 10th floor to visit a patient. There's only one other person in the lift, and a meek voice says, "Good morning, Dr. Oswa." Yes, it's our friend, that supervising doctor who rated you in your first month. She calls you by your name, but not your first name. She calls you out of deference and respect by your last name formally. Because you still wear the starched white coat, but now on your coat it says Professor and University Chairman. And underneath it, it says Physician in Chief. You're now the head of the department. And as you ride up, you can see her squeezing herself into the corner, trying to disappear. And you can literally smell the fear. And you can hear her thinking, I wonder if he remembers.
So we're gonna stop the recording there. It's a lot of things he said thereafter. There's a lot of things he said thereafter, but because of time, we're gonna stop. A few things take away. I don't know if Dr. Henry's here. I want to put him on spotlight. The few takeaways are the person that he was describing is like our fear, our limitation, our obstacle. Whoever he was describing when he came in 1989, that's those things that hold you bound, those things that think that you don't measure up in the society, those things that you think it's my co-hosts, those things that you think spotlight for everyone, those things that you think has held you bound, those things that you had to spotlight, that has impeded your limitation. Every one of us here in this panel have come across that situation. It could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be a thing. Ways of encouraging people is don't look at that thing. Just ask yourself, how can I be better? Because in 13 years' time, you're going to sing a story, professor and chief physician of that hospital. That's a great inspirational story. Dr. Henry, we're going to talk about research today.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. In writing a research paper, one of the first few things is conceptualization. So we're going to be very practical. Conceptualization. You think of what solution do I want to serve? What do I want to prove? What do I want to show? What do I want to solve? What do I want to analyze? And like we usually say in demystifying research, it is not only the big stuff. I know there's a professor in our midst. It's not only the big thing, very simple thing, case report. What do I want to report? Why do I want to report it? Case series. I've seen these three people coughing alike. How do I report them? Where do I report them? Those are things that you could do. So every one of us here will be given like 2 minutes to tell us an idea. And then we jump in. How do you make your first statement? There's a script that Dr. Henry will share, and I'll just relax and enjoy him guide us on different things about it. Let's say Dr. Soji. Dr. Soji, tell us any idea you brainstorm so we could use that as a practical guide in writing. Dr. Soji Ojo is also applying for psychiatry. If you know anybody that's going to help put a word for him, please let him know. I like him to also network in this platform, just like every other person. Boma Jacks, every other person, throwing in words here and there. Dr. Soji, can you unmute yourself? If you're somewhere, you could put your camera on. If there's any idea, it's a random question. If you don't have, just to let everybody know that there's no pre-planned thing. So this is how we form research. I could be reading and one idea drops. We could be talking maybe from what that guy was saying. I just decided something. Do you have anything in mind you've ever pondered upon?
So talking about a research topic.
If your camera is on, do you mind if I put you on, I spotlight you?
I don't mind.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone. If I would have to think about a topic in research, I would say it's called like new daily persistent headache. So it's a kind of headache that's very difficult to diagnose. And it's just as the word new daily persistent headache means, It's a constant daily headache that never gets better. Like there is no intervention, no therapy, and it's not migraine. And it's very, very difficult to actually diagnose it. Neither does it even have a treatment. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. So in research process, so we're now thinking, so this is a problem that he has. Just like every one of us, take a pen, make this very practical. Think of a problem or think of something you've seen. It mustn't be a problem. It could be a solution. It must not be even a problem and a solution. It could just be an analysis of something. Like you're just trying to figure out something, right? So for him, daily headache. So let's just give it. In writing, you have to start with just where you are. Don't think of the whatever literature books, this, or just say, hey, I want to say figure out new daily headaches. That's my headache. The next thing you need to do is, okay, why? What do I want to do about new daily headaches? Is it that do I want to look at the causes? Do I want to look at the pattern? Do I want to look at the cure? Do I want to look at advances? Do I want to look at relationship? Do I want to? So there are a lot of perspective, dimension, causality, solution, treatment. And like I tell everyone in this research academy, try to narrow yourself as narrow as possible to one thing. Don't go everywhere. Don't do causes treatment. You're going to be too broad. So Dr. Saji, let's hypothetical. What do we want to talk about? What's the objective? What is the objective of this your talk? Is it how it affects people in society? Is it job loss? Is it from the economic perspective? Or do you want to just find out the causality?
I would say in
Or
this
the
particular,
incidents?
yeah. So new daily persistent headache, my objective would be, I would say diagnosis, because there really isn't any.
Perfect. Perfect. So there's a concept called New Delhi persistent headache. So we're trying to look at diagnosis. So that becomes an objective. Once you're able to conceptualize, get a diagnosis, the next thing is now how do I write? Now, we've already talked about the structure of a paper. Introduction, abstract or abstract introduction, methodology, discussion, and conclusion. That's like the basics of all papers. Introduction, methodology, discussion, conclusion. Every other little parts that we want to put. Now, case report depends on what we're writing. Case series depends on what we're writing. The literature review usually falls into the introduction. So let's just go straight to, we've had this body. So we have introduction, methods. That method is how we're going to do this stuff, right? And then the discussion, and then the conclusion. In the introduction, we'll now switch over to Henry. Let's talk about, let's say we want to introduce it. So for you as a researcher, if every other person has created a topic in their head, next thing is, what am I going to put in the introduction? Before that, there's an aspect of it that everyone should do, is to first to read wide about what do people know? What is the current existing knowledge about this recurrent persistent? That we cannot do in this particular session, but that you can do later in the topic that you've chosen, wherever you are. And then you read wide, you go to Google, you go to your whatever, AI, there's these days of AI, type it into AI. What is the current knowledge? Why this? So you get a lot of perspective. Now remember that in research, you can sometimes be original and you can other times not be original. You might just be replicating what another person has found. As long as you're not plagiarizing, or if you're replicating what another person has found, as long as you're referencing, these people saw this in Japan, this is what I'm going to see here. It is not a research crime. It is not a research infringement, right? The only way it becomes an if you are stealing somebody's research and doing. You can replicate somebody's method. You can replicate somebody's idea. You can replicate somebody's idea. Let me say it again. You can replicate somebody's idea as long as you are referencing the person. You're not plagiarizing the person. And there we've talked about proper ways of referencing people and saying it. So let's just say we've done our literature search, we've read wide and fine, and we've gotten to an updated knowledge. We've seen the causes, we've seen the causes, we've seen the causes. Now our objective is to find the causes. So I'll now have to determine, what am I doing in method? What method am I going to use? Am I going to use am I just going to do a literature review of the causes? Right? Or I'm not satisfied with the causes that I found. I found a lacuna, I found a research question that questioned those causes. So I'm going to do a traditional research. Am I doing a prospective design to say, okay, let me design something to find a new cause? Or am I going to do, let's look at all the people within my area, within my hospital that have had it, and what could be the possible causes, a retrospective design, right? So, or am I going to do a meta-analysis? Okay, they've already said that this is the cause, this is the p-value that they are sure that this is the cause, this is the p-value that they are sure that this is the cause, or this is the confidence interval that they're sure that this is the cause, this is the confidence interval that they're sure that this is the cause. Am I going to meta-analyze all these numbers, put them together, and then find out if it is truly the cause? So once I determine the methodology, very simple one, it's a literature review. So I'm going to do a literature review of all the causes, right? That's they found in Japan, in this, that. And then we come our first statement, Dr. Henry. Introduction.
Thank
So
you,
before he
everyone.
goes into the structures of those nitty-gritties, right? If you see how we started from, in the introduction, we've also had a class, a lecture where we go into what are the basic content or how do you structure your introduction, the problem, the burden, and then why you're doing what you want to do. And then this, what Dr. Henry is going to talk about now, is very deep and very simple. Keep it very simple. Keep it simple. Dr. Soji, by the end of this class, you should have had a complete paper. You just flesh it up, and that's it. And one other thing I will try to mystify, a research mustn't be 10-page long or 20-page long or 50-page long. It could just be just one page. Just a page, just a half a page. It mustn't be 100 million page long. The other thing now is to now adapt it to the journal that you want to publish. How does the journal want me to present it? What are their rules? And then you now begin to fit it into that journal and see how you're going to go. And you mustn't have 500 references. It could just be 3 references, 2 references, 4 references, 5 references. There's no rule about how many. The only rule is what is the journal's rule. If the journal doesn't have a reference count, what do you call it? A reference count rule. Yeah, it's empty. You put 3 or 4 references, as long as you, at the end of the day, check for plagiarism, make sure you're not plagiarizing anybody, publish it. Must I publish in New England Journal of Medicine? Heck no, no way. Publish anywhere that accepts your standard, your way, what you are trying to present a fact. As you begin to grow, the New England Journal of Medicine will begin to look for you. If I open my inbox, I tell you how many journals I'm soliciting my support currently to send in papers. But I don't have time to do that, right? After all, it's business. They are making money. If I submit paper, they're going to charge me for most of them. So I don't have any time. I'm looking to share my idea. And you mustn't also publish in a journal. You could publish in news articles, dailies, Vanguard, This Day, The Punch. You mustn't go spend so much money trying to impress someone, or even though that we all are looking for digital object identifier, right? That's the DOI, which identifies your publication. Right? But you mustn't go that route. If you look for journals that are trying to accept you, if they don't accept you, you go for it. So determine that our introduction is going to be this. I'll hang up here, and then Dr. Henry will go into the nitty-gritties of how you place your statements and go. And everybody's going to chime into this discussion. It's going to be a class like all of us. I don't know it most. Neither does he.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okobi. So I sent in a paper to the chat box here where everybody can download and take a look at the material we're going to be reviewing today. I want to assume that we all already had this paper before now to peruse, and we can converse. Like Okobi said, there are several reasons to write a paper: to impress your parents, to march into residency. But the actual reason is to contribute to the body of knowledge and drive knowledge forward. That's the primary objective. Every other thing becomes secondary. So in doing this, we have to communicate very clearly and use very simple terms and keep the language very, very short. And I sent in material that has 30 places that we can use. I want us to review it. We can, I'll just call on anybody to, look at it and try to tell me what he or she can get from the material, so that way we can see that we are actually learning on the go. Chinonye Ulocha. Sorry, Chinonye Ulocha. Okay, yeah. Did you look at the material? Can you tell us the first part of it, what you understood from what they're saying? We're gonna call like 10 people and make this very quick, just to have a general idea of how to write how to portray the message so it's easy to read.
And you know, like it's not a pass or fail. We're all sharing ideas.
We're just sharing ideas.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answers. We're looking at someone. So two professors took their time to write these 30 tips of writing scholarly.
Correct.
Some of the things they wrote, we already know. We just, emphasize them. Some other things are new to us. You could just look at it and just share any part of it that touched you. You could go in sequence and then we get done.
Okay, let me start by saying short sentences. I am a boy, full stop. I want to travel tomorrow, full stop. When I get there tomorrow, I'll eat, full stop. The shorter the sentence, the easier it is to carry. I was reading an article today on asthma, and the writer had written 6 lines. I read it 3 times before I could understand what he was saying. There was so many commas and it was so long I couldn't comprehend it. But the sentences are very, very short. Just 1 line, not more than 2 lines. It's easier to catch. So writing style, short sentences. Next is paragraph. 1 paragraph should convey a whole message, and that should be it. The next paragraph should convey another whole message. I shouldn't read a paragraph and go read the next paragraph to understand the previous paragraph. 1 whole paragraph is just 1 message. If you're done with that message, the next paragraph should be another message. Are we following?
Absolutely, yes.
Chinemelum, are you willing to talk? Let me call somebody else. Abiodun?
I could chime in while we're waiting for other people to talk. If you go
Yes, sir,
down.
I just joined now. I'm not sure about that. I didn't read the article we were talking about.
Okay, Amogechukwu Ugu. Okay, let's talk about how to report something, active and passive. Say, we measured the blood pressure, and we can say the blood pressure was measured. You need to put yourself forefront in writing the article. Saying we measured blood pressure means that you actually did it. You yourself did it. We measured blood pressure and observed that, rather than saying the blood pressure was measured and it was observed that. So active speaking, even when you're writing about patient, I discussed with the patient, today I examined the patient in the hall. We discussed that I discussed with the patient. So keep it short. Paragraph should be easy to read. Voice should be active. Use active verbs rather than passive verbs. And if you want to talk about what people did, you use third person singular. They found that. That's okay. But if you did it, say you did it. That way we can know that you did it. Then yeah.
One thing I also want to note while writing over the years is that sometimes you have a thought block. What is the first thing what do I start with? What do I write? What do I put down? So there's what they call word salad, right? The first thing you do is not to bother how it sounds and how it's going to be scholarly. I think they wrote it in one of these papers, one of the tips, or how it's going to be sweet and flavored. Just write it the way you think it. Just put your thoughts in the paper. Don't forget about semantics first. Just say daily headaches are common, or daily headaches has been common. Daily headache is common. I've experienced or I've seen it or whatever. Just make it very simple, like you're pouring out your mind. It is on the second review that you now begin to structure the statement. Say, oh, okay, this statement sounds like grade 5. I need to step up to make it sound like grade 12. But remember that in medicine, the teachers that whatever you are writing, a grade 5 person should be able to read and understand it. If a grade 5 person doesn't understand it, you're not even making sense. Professor Weredo will be here, he will tell us better. If you write an article and you're sounding so scholarly that a grade 5 person doesn't understand it, the article doesn't even make any sense to me. For me, I don't read those kind of articles because they're not going to add knowledge to me. So keep it very simple. Just put it down the way it is, the way it came to your mind, and it mustn't be lengthy. 3 paragraphs in an introduction is just more than enough that you need for a basic, even 1 paragraph. If you want to go to an extent, 3 paragraphs, more than enough that you need. All right, Dr. Henry, continue.
Yeah, like Eddie said, we can just write down what your thought is. Don't worry about it. Read it again. Read it again. As you continue to read it, you continue to flesh out the stuff. We're talking about the writing style itself. Vocabulary, just keep it very simple. The important things in life are simple, like the book said. Life, death, love, war, fire, water, all those are simple. If they have to say, I found out the patient was flabbergasted. If you have any big word, it's meaningless. Just like you see in the MCQs on the exam. If you have any big word, it's likely not the right answer. It's meaningless. The idea is to make it as short and as simple as we can find. Okay, I'm trying to go down this whole thing on the writing style itself. I'm going to read how words are. For instance, it says, I'm just going to read from this. It says, an example. There are several techniques that could be utilized to tape an ankle. Here, I want to describe an ankle. If the ankle is the subject matter, the ankle should be mentioned in the first 2 words of the sentence. Whatever the subject matter is, you start with it so that we don't lose sight of it. And the best way to say, I think knee braces are useful, or I think ankle braces are useful. Because here we're going to describe the ankle. So we want the ankle, whatever you're describing, to be in the beginning of the sentence that we are describing itself. I'm trying to have us read this material because I believe we all had this material so that we can go through it and see what we discovered so that of us can discuss. I don't want to be the only one talking and making conjectures to myself.
There's another part of the article that also appeals to me, where they talked about how to write numbers. If you open that article if you go down to page reporting numbers and units, page 212. That's like the 3rd page or so, page 212. In general, if you want to write numbers when you're writing the scholarly articles, if your number is between 1 to 10, you have to spell it out. And if it's after 1 to 9, you have to spell it out. And if it's after 10, you have to write it out. The few exceptions are like chapters, figures, money, temperature, and the rest, measurements. And also, if you want to use units and then standard of unit, general unit, let's say you want to use 2.0, you have to keep it consistent. You should not use 2.0 in one place and then go to another place and use 2.00. These are little tips, and that makes your writing, very scholarly. So, like for example, you use 2.0 millimeter, and then in another place you use 2 millimeter, right? You have to make the 2.0 consistent. All true. The issue about abbreviation also came in. Don't assume that people know what CT scan is. Every one of us know what CT scan is, but don't assume that people know what CT scan is. For every abbreviation you're going to use in writing, make sure that you spell it out on first use. CT scan, computed tomography or computer tomography. I don't know what they call it, computed tomography. I used to think it's computer tomography, whatever it is. Right. MRI, magnetic resonance, whatever it is. Don't assume that people know what MRI is. Millimeters of mercury. Don't assume that everybody reading it, because sometimes 100 first year medical students might be reading your article and has not even grown to your stage of knowing what millimeters of mercury or non-millimeters of mercury is. I'm just giving you an example. There's basic standard SI units that should not be spelled out, while as much as you can, everything that you want to, every abbreviation that you want to use in a scholarly article, you spell it out. I'm just poking at random. And we'll be calling random people, I know a lot of random people here that to chime in or what Dr. Ifyok, you're here, if you can chime in. I know Dr. Janet is here. She's from Chicago. She's a resident. You can also chime in. Someone's hand is up. Dr. Toro's hand. Dr. Faithful Gundero, yes, chime in. Not question, your opinion. Dr. Toro, you could go first.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Kobe. Good
Sorry,
evening,
Dr. Toro,
Dr.
before you go forward, I posted a link because we're forming new groups. If you
Okay.
click on that particular link, you will see, if you scroll down to that link, just add your name so that you can be added to a new group, not the already existing one. You will see where we said, I hope it's here. I hope it's here. I hope it's here. I hope it's here. All right, sorry. All right, Dr. Toro, go on. I'm creating, just say names and subspecialty.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Thank you for pointing that out. And thank you, Dr. Elukemi, for the presentation and for sharing the article. I read that article and I learned a lot. It was very helpful. So the part that stood out to me, I'm going to start with, since Dr. Kobe talked about the acronyms, the abbreviations, there's also a flip side to that, in that if you're referencing something that people already know, but you decide to go, they cited an example using IBM. So in a paper, if I'm going to write IBM, it's actually better I write it as IBM, because many people know it as IBM, right? Rather than if I put it, I don't even it was the first time I was really seeing the full meaning of IBM. So I was like, and I could put my video on straight away. So it was like the first time.
No, you're fine.
Okay. All right. So it was the first time that I was really seeing the full meaning of IBM. So the point is, people will get distracted if you write it out in full, because almost all of us know what IBM is. So it's better to actually stick with IBM in that context than write the abbreviation. So it's kind of like, it was just interesting to me that, okay, I always thought that, okay, I had to write the first, even though everybody knows IBM, I still have to write it out in full the first time, and then I continue on. But it's like, no, don't do that, because that actually loses people. Because, I'm wrapping my head around international, whatever, B something. And I'm like, okay, what is this? It was just IBM. So that was interesting. Then another part that really got me was the issue of parallelism, which actually, I love that part, because so parallelism is, so they cited it two ways. If you have something like in bullet form, so you can say, because maybe let's say I'm describing an X-ray machine. I may not really be going into the technicality, I may just be using random stuff, but if I'm writing, okay, so the X-ray machine is powerful because, then I go to the bullet point one, because it helps me, see what is going on in the patient's lungs. Then the second part I'm writing, because, the X-ray machine is powerful because I put a semicolon in front of the because, right? So my first point is because it helps me see what is going on in the patient's lungs. Then the second is because the X-ray machine is costly. So it's kind of like it's just going back and forth, like it's not really making sense. So I could actually write it out as the X-ray machine is powerful because then I put a semicolon. So the first point is because so then I write, the first one will be is powerful. The second one it's not, it's not an expensive thing. So it's kind of just makes it chronological rather than jumping back and forth, because I already put my semicolon before the time I'm supposed to put it. So it just helps make the paper really neat. Another better example with the parallelism is they were citing, like, let's say the study the machine is good because, okay, so this is the sentence. The machine is good because it has a large memory capacity, has a large memory capacity, has a powerful function, and faster printing. I think they used faster printing in that article. So now I say has a large memory capacity, comma, has a powerful function, comma, and faster printing. So the thing is, those first two, powerful function and the other one, they make sense. But when I put the final command, I say, and faster printing. So it's not really gelling with the first two things I already said. A better way to put it will be, oh, the machine is powerful because it has a large memory capacity, comma, has a powerful function, comma, and prints faster. So, and one way, if we're not sure about that, is remove the powerful function, remove the large memory capacity, and just put the printing part alone and say the machine has a powerful, the machine faster printing, right? You know,
Right.
when I wrote it, like, and faster printing, this is, maybe we can just look at the article. If we go to like page 4,
Okay.
I think that's where the parallelism is. The page after this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. Exactly. Thank you for projecting it. So yeah, so that example that says not parallel example A. So it says the manufacturer claims the new dynamometer is more user-friendly, has more data storage capability, and faster printing. So a better way to put that again is the other example where they replace the faster printing with print faster. And if we are not sure, I mean, I used to make this mistake a lot in my writing, so it was really stood out to me. So the better way to do it is remove everything else and just say the manufacturer and faster printing. So that sentence is not going to make sense, right? But I mean, the no dynamometer and faster printing is not going to make sense. But if you say the no dynamometer, print faster, that is logical, right? So that's just a way to kind of like make sure everything ties in neatly, because I mean, there's some people that really are into lingo, and if it's not really adding up, it loses them. So that's just something that stood out to me. I don't want to take too much time.
Dr. Harry, before she says, I'm going to say something. You know, when I read this article, it was written in 1996. That was before the days of AI. Unfortunately, the world has moved 26 years or 20 years ahead of time. AIs have taken over. Simple Grammarly can help us in many of all these things. Many of these AI models, ChatGPT, just name it. There's this current debate I had with a professor of mine that, oh, wow, AIs are making people lazy. I said, oh, and I was like, well, there was a debate when cars first came out, and people were saying cars made people lazy because men were known for walking miles and distances and boasting about it, or riding horses or riding chariots, right? So I will encourage everyone, life is going ahead while we're trying to understand the basics, which is why we're having this conversation, reading this 1996 article, trying to find the basics of the anatomy, because you need to at least get to know what is the anatomy, what is the molecule like, before you now fast forward to begin to use the AIs, right? If you use the AI, if you use a tool, a powerful tool that you don't understand the nitty-gritty of what it is, you're going to be thrown away, you're going to be lost. So these days, in 2030, 2040, many of all these things are going to be phased out. I just sit down and say, hey, there was a device I bought. It's called Rabbit. I don't even have it here. I just hold it and say, hey, show me all the papers that wrote about parallelism. And unbelievable, the thing synchronizes with my laptop, unbelievable displays on my laptop, and tells me all these people, maps it out, I say, which one am I going to use? Like voice command, I'm not kidding. Voice command, the thing automatically tells you everything. Okay, I need introduction for this chapter. Voice command, it writes it. I was telling my professor mentor, I was like, Edward, you're getting very lazy. Or like, well, in 2040, let's come back to this conversation and have this conversation. Anyway, nice contribution, Dr. Toro.
Thank you.
Next person. So while we're waiting for people, we've opened the subgroup because we're going to create new subgroups. I encourage as many people to join subgroups, free subgroups, as much as possible. Last year, we had over 80%. We also know that there's a consulting category for people who may not have the time to participate 100% fully. Both the consulting category and the free subgroups you have to participate no matter how small. Those are our rules. But please join the subgroups and participate in your subgroup. And just remember that the reason why we form these subgroups to make life easier so that we can use the power of shared collaboration. You do a little, he does a little, and we add it becomes much, right? So if if you do a little and she doesn't do a little, that's where the subgroups don't get to success. So fill up your names, and we're going to create 3 or 4, depending on what we have. You'll see a column down there where I wrote 128 over 128, 2024. Just put your name in there. And within the week, we're going to create new subgroups and then empower them to begin to function. If you also want to lead these subgroups, because someone has to lead it, Edward is not going to lead it, Dr. Torre is not going to lead it, Henry is not going to lead everybody. So we function in small subunits. If you know that you have leadership capacity, whether you have research experience or not, we have people who are going to support you behind the scene. Just indicate that you want to lead this one and then lead them. Dr. Henry, over to you.
Eddie, looks like some people are unable to join the subgroup or unable to edit it. Do they need
Yes. So
any more
you know how Google document
permission?
is. If you click on it, it's gonna request access. As the access are coming, I'm granting it. And then you can go back, like Dr. Iguatu can now click on share, and that's it, and then she can access it. That's how that's Google document. It's gonna tell the owner to give grant permission so that we don't have other people. Dr. Faithful, I see your hand raised. And Dr. Chinonye Olochi.
Yes. I was just going to comment on something that I saw in the article that I know I used to make the mistake of, like, in my own writing. So it was towards the end on page 213, under general hints.
Let's share the screen and go to page 213.
Oh.
Share screen. Where is it? Article. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, right here.
Okay.
My comments is on number 29 and 28. Actually, I used to say, like, data, because data is supposed to be plural, and so and these things actually matter, especially when you submit. I recently submitted the paper, and, like, it's been back and forth just because of, some of the words and the way we put some things. And so they did say researchers don't find, discover, or prove things, they observe and report them. And I know that, like, I've also made the mistake of writing, oh, the researchers found, or we discovered that, and apparently where the researchers observe something and then they report. And so it's important, the lingo and how you write these things in the final draft. And number 30, which says forget about all the above rules and, write your first draft, focusing on much that may hinder your thought process. For me as well, in my writing, I realized that I spend too much time thinking about the order in which my paper should go or how it should look like. I could plan to write maybe introduction for 2 hours and then end up spending 4 or 5 hours because I'm thinking of, like, how it should go instead of just writing. And so those 3 points were, like, what stood out to me because something I could relate with in, like, previous research projects that I've worked on. And I do have a question, but I guess I'll wait until it's time to ask questions. It's about referencing.
Thank you very much, Faithful Ogunlera. Does anyone else has any observation from the article they'd like to share? I'm just moderating. We're here to look at it and see what strikes us personally from our own experiences as publishers.
Good morning, good evening. Thank you so much. I would like to share something, just to chip in.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kobe, Dr. Elukeme, Dr. Tour, and everybody that has contributed so far. What really struck me is the I think it's
put
on
your spotlight.
page 211.
I don't mean to
Sorry?
interrupt you. Do you mind if we put you on spotlight? I don't mean to interrupt you though. But go ahead if you don't. If you do.
Like to put on my video.
If you do, if you don't mind.
Sorry, I mind.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, so I was thinking about the part, like I think it's numbered 17 on page 211. The part that's talking about emphasizing on the facts, not necessarily the people that wrote them. So, like, well, for me, the little experience I have, I'm used to writing, like including the authors. Like, I think there's a reference style that encourages that to some extent. But then seeing their clear example, I realized that it actually is easier to follow. It's like there are fewer lines, using less words, and then the referencing technique is not lost either. So I just also want to point everybody to that part that says that we should emphasize facts and not necessarily the authors. So we could just, depending on the reference style anyways, but like, I don't think there's anyone that particularly insists that you include the names in the sentences. You could actually maybe include them in parentheses or as the numbers, like in Vancouver. So yeah, that's why I wanted to emphasize on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we also talk about pruning words. Don't make it too long. Make it as short as possible. Make it concise. Make it simple. Write the whole thing first. You can read it again. Use first person. And you can do writing styles. You can do present tense. The patient eats. The patient, so you cannot use different tenses of present, past, or past participle. Whatever tense you decide to use. If you want to use a future tense, continuously use future tense. If you want to say we did, just keep using past tense in the writing style. Anyway, this is an adult education. So our goal here is to point out what the possibilities are. This manuscript was written a long time ago, but this forms the framework of exactly how to have effective communication. Short sentences as good as possible, and the little errors that can be found. Like Eddie said, I have Grammarly on my laptop, so if I'm writing a letter, Grammarly helps me correct all the letters just to make sure everything is cleaned up. There is the AI app that we can use to do a lot of other things too. So we wanted this meeting to be 30 minutes. Is about an hour now. I think we'll open the place for questions now. Anyone who has any questions can put them forward so we can get going, because I have to be at work tomorrow at 6 a.m. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Before we jump into the question session, we would like to end the recording. Thank you everyone for coming. This is an adult class, like our moderator said. There's a lot to talk about, piecing your statements together, but in summary, first, pour your heart the way it is. Don't go about looking for excellence and then begin to build your story. One paragraph says one thing, one paragraph says one thing. Try as much as possible to keep your research writing focused on one single thing. Don't go everywhere looking for solution, problem, effect, causality, and all those stuff. Just address one thing. In your next paper, address the next thing. Your next paper, address the next thing. Your next paper, address the next thing. And remember that what you address is your design, not another person's design. What you want to do, right? What you want to tell the world, not what other people. Follow the guideline of the journal, and then you should be there. We have a meeting by 8 o'clock. There's a particular hospital that wants to partner with us. They want us to be sending externs or people to do rotations, research rotations and extension rotations there. So I want to hop off this meeting and join that particular hospital and the strategic meetings. I think Dr. Henry will be needed over there, but Dr. Henry, when you're done, you can come in. Thank you everyone for coming. For those that don't have access to the Google document, I'm going to share it again. Or you reach out to me, I'm going to just share it with you privately. Put your name within the week, as usual. We're going to form new subgroups, function as if the subgroup belongs to you, not belongs to Edward, function effectively. If you have any questions, let us know. By September, we should all be having at least one or two papers. That's the objective. Thank you, everyone. This is ING Research Academy. Once again, we're ending our second meeting for the year. And thank you. I'll be ending the record.